Hey, what's up everybody? Hammer Heart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another edition in my series where I'm counting down my favorite albums from a specific subgenre of metal. And today we are going to be talking about death metal. So with this video, I want to make it clear I'm not including melodic death metal, I'm not including death doom, I'm not including progressive death metal. This essentially is mostly old school death metal, maybe like a little bit of technical or brutal death metal mixed in there as well. But yeah, sticking to just straight ahead death metal for the purposes of this list. As with every other edition in this series, I'm limiting this to one album per band just to keep things interesting. So you're not going to see 6 death albums on here, limited to only one. And also, if I've mentioned a band and an album in a different list, you're not going to see them again here. So for example, I talked about Carcass in the melodic death metal video that I did, so I'm not going to mention them again here because I'm trying to limit it to one album per band per all of these separate lists. And yeah, so for today, there's going to be a lot of classic albums here, but I also tried to sprinkle in a few underrated ones and also a few more modern albums to kind of give it this nice mix. So if you don't see an album in here, I'm only limiting this to 25, so it doesn't mean that I don't like it. Obviously limiting to 25, there's going to be tons, hundreds and hundreds of albums that I'm not touching on here that I love. So don't get too upset if one of your favorites isn't on here. I probably do love it as well. But that being said, I would like to hear your favorites down below. Which ones can you not believe I didn't talk about? Or maybe there'll be some surprises about which album I picked from certain bands. And you can talk about which album you would have put there instead. But yeah, anyways, before I ramble on way too long here, let's just get into this. Just doing a top 25. Some of these videos I've done top 10, I've done top 25. For black metal, I did top 100. But that took a lot out of me. That was a lot to put together. So for death metal, at least for right now, I'm just going to do my top 25 for this moment in time. So here we go. Let's get this going. Coming in, just cracking the list at number 25, I'm going with Hypocrisy and their debut album, Penetralia, from 1992. So Hypocrisy, some good old school death metal from Sweden. These days they play much more like melodic death metal, but their first couple albums were straight ahead old school death metal, and I absolutely love them. Easily my favorite couple albums by them, and I think the debut is their best. Just absolutely great low vocals, absolutely pounding guitar riffs. You got songs like Impotent God, Burned by the Cross. Just really classic stuff here. I absolutely love this album. That's why I just cracked the list. Up next at number 24, going with more of a modern one with Outre Tombe and Necrovortex from 2018. These are from my homeland of Canada, in Quebec specifically. And yeah, just absolutely amazing modern death metal album. Really got the, even though I'm saying modern, it's got a throwback old school death metal sound to it. Just chocked full of great riffs. That's really what this band is known for. I had the pleasure of seeing them live earlier this year. And yeah, just best songs on here. The title track, Necrovortex. Aberration is great as well. Front to back, just a solid death metal album. Up next at number 23, going with something a little bit different with Origin and their absolutely standout album, Antithesis, from 2008. So this is technical, brutal death metal. Tech death is not necessarily a genre I gravitate to that much, but Origin is one of the exceptions. I've seen them live so many times. They put on such a good show, and this album is just a beast. The riff writing, sweep picking on here is just absolutely amazing, and I love the vocals as well. The riff patterns, not riff patterns, but vocal patterns that kind of match up with the riffs. Just really top-notch form here. Feel like this was their peak. They haven't matched it, even though they've got a handful of really solid albums. This one, to me, easily their best. Got songs like Algorithm, Wrath of Vishnu, Finite. All in all, absolutely standout album. Easy addition to my list. Up next at number 22, let's go with an all-time classic with Incantation and Onward to Golgotha from 1992. So yeah, talk about just grimy, slimy death metal with a little bit of a doomy edge, and wow, just absolute classic, stands the test of time. You've got songs like Christening, The Afterbirth, Immortal Cessation. The vocals on display here, just absolutely top-notch stuff here. The riffs, everything about this album, in my opinion, easily Incantation's best. They do have a handful of really awesome albums, but to me, this one just knocks it out of the park. And yeah, that's why it is in at number 22. Up next at number 21, maybe more of an underrated one. Probably surprised that this is even on this list. Going back with another Canadian band with Necronomicon and their album The Sacred Medicines from 2003. So I absolutely love this album. Over the course of their career, they've changed sounds a little bit, but their first two albums really had this like Egyptian flair to it. And the riffs on here is just like pure old school morbid angel worship, even the vocals too. But these songs are so catchy. You're going to be singing or screaming along to it. And the riffs and just rhythm section in this band, absolutely amazing. I've seen these guys live too, absolutely awesome. Got songs like Through the Door of Time, Behind the Mask is probably my favorite song on here. Just such a crunchy, fucking pounding riff. Quest for Vision. So yeah, with this being more of an underrated one, if you've not heard this album before, strongly suggest you go check it out if you're into like old school morbid angel with a little bit of a twist on it. Amazing album in at number 21. Now into the top 20. Just cracking the top 20, I'm going with Ripping Corpse and their one and only album, Dreaming with the Dead from 1991. So this band, of course, is probably more well known for featuring Eric Rutan on guitar, who later went on to form Hate Eternal. He's been in Morbid Angel. He's in Cannibal Corpse now. And also their vocalist, oh, why didn't I write down his name? I can't remember his name. Anyways, the vocalist went on to be in Dim Mak, and just absolutely amazing riffs on display on this album. Got a song like Sweetness to kick the album off. And then my absolute favorite song by them is Chugging Pus. Just a great song title. I can't help but smile as I say it. But just, yeah, crunchy riffs, really interesting melodies, and just pounding death metal all mixed together. It works so well. I wish they would have stuck around, put out more than just the one album, but at least we have this one classic album, and it is amazing. Up next at number 19. Speaking of bands with an Egyptian theme, let's go with Nile and Annihilation of the Wicked from 2005. So yeah, no band incorporates the Egyptian themes as well as Nile does into their music. Just such heavy death metal, but so interesting lyrically and musically. Drumming is absolutely insane. Best songs on here: Cast Down the Heretic, Lash to the Slave Stick, Sacrifice unto Sebek. All in all, absolutely amazing album. This could have even been higher than 19, but for today, it's in at number 19. Up next at number 18, I'm going with another more modern album with Blood Incantation and their album Starspawn from 2016. So this was the debut album for these guys, and they just came out of the gates firing. Like I remember when this album came out, it absolutely floored me. Of course, this year they put out like an ambient record, definitely not death metal at all. But this album and their second album both absolutely kick ass. I went with the debut Starspawn. I feel like it edges out the sophomore album by a hair, but I just absolutely love this. Vitrification of Blood, the title track Starspawn. I think there's only like 5 tracks on here, if I remember right. I probably should have written that down. But yeah, front to back, absolutely amazing death metal album. Up next at number 17, I'm going with Impaled and their album Mondo Medicale from 2002. So this is some like gory death metal, much in the same vein as a band like Exhumed. Even had some same members from Exhumed, so the similarities are like undeniable. But just really catchy stuff here. These songs are going to stick in your head. Got like multiple vocalists going at the same time. The really low gutturals, some mid-range, and then the high gargles. Just really awesome stuff here. Raise the Stakes, Operating Theater. All the lyrics really focused on medical terminology. I was talking about comparisons to Exhumed, but Carcass is an even better comparison, really bringing in some of the melody that Carcass has, but more on the old style of Carcass as well, with like the gore grind and death grind, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, if you have not heard Impaled's Mondo Medicale before, do yourself a favor and go check it out. Up next at number 16, another all-time classic. I'm going with Dismember and Like an Everflowing Stream from 1991. This is another debut record. There's a lot of debuts on here. A lot of these bands just really came out of the gates firing and put out their best output, at least in my opinion. Like, Dismember's had a long and very solid career, but I feel like they've never touched this debut, and it just stands the test of time with songs like Skinner Alive, Bleed for Me. Just Swedish death metal at its finest here. Easy choice for my list. Now into the top 15. Coming in at number 15, I'm going with Vital Remains and their album Dechristianized from 2003. So Vital Remains has been around for a long time, and then with this album, they brought in Glenn Benton from Deicide to do vocals, and it just took them to the next level. You got David Suzuki doing drums, and his guitar work is absolutely phenomenal on this album. The fills and solos are next level. They're so technical, it's crazy. There's so much melody going on here, like in a song like Rush of Deliverance. Listen to the guitar in that song. Absolutely insane. The title track, De-Christianized, got the typical Glenn Benton, like low and high vocals recorded, mixed together. Sounds so awesome. And yeah, I absolutely love this album to death. Easy choice for this list. Up next at number 14, I'm going with Necrophobic and their debut album, The Nocturnal Silence from 1993. So arguably, this was a tough band to classify as either death metal or black metal. It's kind of a mix of both. On this debut album, I do feel like it's a little more on the death metal side, although there's still, like, it's on the fringe of black metal as well. But for the purposes of this, I put it on my death metal list. And just absolutely amazing album here. The solos on here, out of this world. The vocals are great. The riffs, so memorable. Just front to back, absolutely amazing stuff. I feel like this is a bit of an underrated album as well. Got songs like Unholy Prophecies. The title track, Nocturnal Silence, is great. All in all, there's not really a weak moment on this album. Absolutely solid. That's why it's in the top 15. Up next at number 13, another Stone Cold classic. Let's go with Bolt Thrower with their album Realm of Chaos from 1989. One of the older albums on this list for sure. So yeah, UK's finest here, a band that never has missed. Really, pretty much every album they ever released is solid. And this is probably my favorite. It was very tough. I almost went with Fourth Crusade, but I went with Realm of Chaos. I feel like it might edge it out a little bit. I have not done a Bolt Thrower ranking yet. I will at some point for sure. But yeah, for at least for today, I'm going with Realm of Chaos. We got classics like World Eater, Eternal War. The riffs, just riffs galore. That's what Bolt Thrower is known for. Absolutely amazing stuff here. Easy choice. Up next at number 12, another all-time classic, Obituary, with their sophomore album, Cause of Death, from 1990. So, of course, Obituary, most well known for the absolutely insane vocals of John Tardy. And then this album took them up a notch from their debut, in my opinion, by bringing in James Murphy on lead guitar. He took them to the next level. I feel like they never even came close to this album again in their career. I actually don't necessarily love a lot of their albums, but this one stands up. This one is absolutely amazing. Chopped in Half, all-time death metal classic for sure. Turned Inside Out. Chopped in half. I can't do it. I cannot scream like John Tardy. It's making myself laugh because it's so bad. But I absolutely love his vocals. Absolutely love this album. Almost made the top 10, but number 12 ain't too shabby. Now up at number 11, just missing out on the top 10. I'm going with maybe more of an underrated one, Monstrosity, with their album Millennium from 1996. So, of course, Monstrosity is probably most well known for being the band that George Corpsegrinder Fisher was in before Cannibal Corpse. And this was the last album that he recorded with them. This is their sophomore album. The technicality on the guitar work on this album is out of this world. There's such great melody and crazy guitar guitar riffs. And the drumming on this album is insane too. And I haven't even talked about Corpsegrinder yet. His vocals on here are insane. Got his typical low to high range, suits it perfectly. Like, this band was made for Corpsegrinder. Songs like Fatal Millennium, Devious Instinct, Seas of Change, all in all, front to back, absolute masterpiece. Just missed out on my top 10, but if you have not heard this album, go check it out. Okay, now we're into the top 10, my 10 favorite death metal albums. Coming in at number 10, let's go with some more Canadian content with Cryptopsy and their album None So Vile from 1996. So this is their sophomore output, and wow, this one really put them on the map. So much technicality here, crazy off-timing riffs and drum beats, and the Lord Worm's vocals are insane. Just really, really solid, strange and weird timed things, but it works. It just works so well. And it's such a great album. Slit Your Guts, Dead and Dripping. Like, this is an all-time death metal classic. Easy choice for my top 10. Well, I shouldn't say easy. I mean, any of these albums could be in here. But yeah, this one stands up, stands the test of time. And that's why I just cracked my top 10. Up next at number 9, I'm going with Immolation. But you might be saying, which album? Maybe this one will be shocking. But my favorite Immolation album is Unholy Cult from 2002. To me, it's got my favorite Immolation song of all time, of Martyrs and Men. That's kind of the factor that pushes this over the top. Even the title track, Unholy Cult. There's so many great Immolation albums, pretty much every single one. So if you put a different album here instead, like Close to a World Below or Here and After, totally makes sense. But for me, I'm going with Unholy Cult. Up next at number 8, let's go back to my homeland of Canada with Gorguts and the Erosion of Sanity from 1993. This is a sophomore output by these guys. This was before they went fully avant-garde and experimental. This was still very much an old school death metal record, but started bringing in some different kind of timings with their riffing, and maybe not fully experimental, but I feel like it was their peak, in my opinion. They definitely got a lot stranger later on, more experimental, so it just depends what style of death metal you like more. But for me, this album is their best. You got a song like Condemned to Obscurity with their Flesh He'll Create. Just front to back, this whole album kills. Easy choice for my top 10. Up next at number 7, I'm going with Angelcorpse and their sophomore album Exterminate from 1998. So Angelcorpse is a band that's, once again, another one that's kind of on the fringes in between death and black metal, blackened death metal, you could call it war metal, whatever you want to use. I feel like it still should be on this list. It's more in the death metal vein if I had to classify it. And just, wow, what a masterpiece this album is. Super underrated too. I feel like not enough people listen or talk about Angelcorpse, and that needs to change. Go listen to this album right fucking now, because it absolutely kills. The riffs and solos and all the musicianship on this album is out of this world. It's got a nice like blackened rasp that kind of gives it that black metal edge with all the death metal riffing going on. But yeah, just pummeling, in your face stuff. Songs like Sons of Vengeance, Christ Hammer, front to back, absolutely amazing album. In at number 7. Up next at number 6, I'm going with Hate Eternal and their album I, Monarch from 2005. So Eric Rutan, after he left Morbid Angel, he started his own band, Hate Eternal, and this is his passion project, and this is where he really shines, writing all the songs, doing the vocals, lead guitar work, absolutely everything. He's always been known for bringing in crazy drummers as well. On this album, you had Derek Roddy, who just absolutely insane blast beats and brings in like a little bit of a jazz feel to some of the drumming. But wow, this was a tough choice for which album as well. I absolutely love King of All Kings. That one could have been on here, but I went with I, Monarch. I feel like the standout tracks maybe elevate it a little bit above the rest of their discography, although this is another band with a pretty much flawless discography. Got songs like The Victorious Reign, the title track I, Monarch, Behold Judas. All in all, absolutely awesome album. Almost made my top 5. Probably could have been in there, but for today, it's in at number 6. Now we're into the top 5. My 5 favorite death metal records. Oh man, this is tough. It's so very difficult to narrow this down, but it's fun doing these. Let's give this a whirl. So coming in at number 5, I'm going with Deicide and the album Serpents of the Light from 1997. So you might be saying, whoa, why don't you have Legion or Once Upon the Cross on here? Well, I love those albums to death too, but I lean a little bit more towards Serpents of the Light. I find it a little bit catchier, the songs are more memorable, and the musicianship has improved a little bit. But do not get me wrong, I absolutely love Legion and the debut and Once Upon the Cross as well. Their first 4 albums, almost unmatched in death metal. And yeah, Serpents of the Light is just my favorite one of the bunch, with songs like Blame It on God, Slave to the Cross is probably my favorite Deicide song, title track Serpents of the Light to kick off the album. All in all, absolutely amazing, super catchy death metal album, in at number 5. Up next at number 4, I'm going with Cannibal Corpse. Of course Cannibal Corpse is going to be on this list, but which album am I going to put here? This may be a shock to some, but my favorite Cannibal Corpse album is Gallery of Suicide from 1998. So yeah, this album was the second album to feature Corpse Grinder, and I feel like this is one of the best death metal vocal performances of all time on this record. The way he goes with his low screams to his high screams, absolutely unmatched, and that's just the best part about this, but the rest of the band really kills it here too. Jack Owen's guitar riffs are insane. Alex Webster's bass, as always, is undeniably excellent. Like, the whole band is just really on display here with writing tight songs that are catchy, they're going to stick in your head, and Corpse Grinder just took them to the next level. Got songs like Blood Drenched Execution, one of my favorite Cannibal Corpse songs, title track Gallery of Suicide, Headless. Oh man, like, maybe these are not known as their all-time classic songs, but to me, this is the album I go back to the most. I just absolutely love it, and that's why, for me personally, it's in my top 5 death metal records. Up next at number 3, I'm going with one of my favorite death metal bands of all time, Exhumed, with their album Slaughtercult from the year 2000. So Exhumed, once again, I was talking about Impaled before. Exhumed definitely took a page out of Carcass's book, started more in the gore grind type of genre, and gradually progressed more to like not necessarily melodic death metal, but started bringing in more melody. But on this album, this is just straight in your face gore metal, bringing in the grind elements with just old school death metal. And the riffs on here are so fast and frantic. Matt Harvey's vocals are absolutely awesome. Just everything about this. You got the low gutturals and then Matt Harvey's high-pitched wails. It's just nuts. The solos are really on point. Like, these guys are great musicians. And I feel like Exhumed, although somewhat popular, I feel like they're super underrated and should be even more well-known. But favorite songs on here, Decrepit Crescendo, Funeral Fuck, This Axe Was Made to Grind, just absolutely amazing stuff. Easy choice for me to be in my top 5. Up next at number 2, an all-time classic, Morbid Angel with Blessed Are the Sick from 1991. I know a lot of people would probably say, oh, Altars of Madness would be their all-time classic. But for me, I give the edge to Blessed Are the Sick. I feel like the songs stand the test of time a little bit better. This is not a knock on Altars of Madness. I absolutely love that album too. That could be, if I was putting more than one album per band, I'm sure I would have Altars of Madness and Blessed Are the Sick both in my top 10 because they're that fucking good. But picking one album, I'm going with Blessed Are the Sick. You got Fall from Grace, Thy Kingdom Come, Unholy Blasphemies, just classic after classic. Absolutely awesome stuff here. The guitar work got a little crazier than on the debut. Really awesome solos here. And just, yeah, awesome stuff in at number 2. So that just leaves one. If you've watched this channel before, there's probably not much suspense here as to what I'm going to put at number 1. Maybe a hint this whole fucking time is the shirt I'm wearing, and then I have a poster over there as well. Of course it's going to be Death, and of course it's going to be Leprosy. In my opinion, the best fucking old school death metal album of all time. Just chocked full of classics. This is the definition of death metal. If someone's never heard death metal before, go put on Leprosy, say this is what it's all about, listen to this, bang your head, sing these songs. Just absolutely amazing album, top-notch performances all around, drumming, bass work, guitars, solos, vocals, everything I want in a death metal album is on this album. I love the sound here. Title track, Leprosy, Pull the Plug, all-time classic, Open Casket, Choke on It, every single song here hits the mark. Awesome stuff. Easy choice for my number 1. It's usually hard to pick a number 1, but on this list, before I even started, I'm like, well, that's at number 1. Let's figure out the rest. But yeah, anyways, these are just my opinions as usual. Love to hear yours down below. Which albums can you not believe I didn't talk about? And just give me your list too. Give me your top 10, give me your top 25, whatever you want. Love to get some conversations going. And anyways, until next time, go give me a subscribe. Hammer Heart my reviews. Out.